Here we are. Hey, man, it's good to be back. Excuse me. I haven't seen you in a little bit because I've been usually busy catching up now that I'm back to full schedule. But
yeah, well, I don't know how you balance all of it.
Mi amigo Skip Hadden is joining me again, back for our Wednesday 11 a.m. drum talk. How are you, man?
Good. So you have to be patient with Karl because he's practicing his Spanish for later in the month. So he might just slip into Espanol.
Necesito practicar mi español todos los días. No hablo español completamente, pero practicar todos los días.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Io sono molto contento vedere te.
So do you speak Spanish?
No. That was Italian.
Oh, yeah.
I went to
in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I've been going to Italy for like 30 years.
Beautiful.
So
how about you speak any other languages?
No, I mean, the only one I really tried was Italian, and I had like Sergio was teaching me and several other students. I would teach them drums and they would teach me Italian. You know, I was even doing the writing part of it and studying out of books. But I have learning disabilities apparently, because only if I do it every day and then I have somebody to talk to, you know.
Well, that's, this will be my 9th trip to Mexico in the past 3 years. So I did the first 8 trips in 2 years because there's no travel last year. I took 4 years of Spanish in high school, took 2 semesters in college, just like 6-7 years ago. They put me in at 102 as our challenge, because that's where you start to really get into future tense, past tense, and some other variations of how to use the language. But I learned a lot, and I could understand actually more than I could speak, which is pretty normal. But the best way to learn is get immersed in it. So every time I would go to Mexico, which is usually 5 to 8 days, this will be a 5-day trip coming up. When you're forced into it, it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, the same thing earlier, before the Italian experience started in 91. I started going to Poland in 1985. I did the first Berkeley on the road in 1985 with the head of the bass department and the head of the piano department. And somehow I was part of that. And we did the Montreux Jazz Festival, and then we did a week in a little village in Poland called Chodzisz. And it was like a 5-hour ride from Warsaw in a van. It was all part of the State Department. So you went like with the government, like in a van, like a blue van, like, with chaperones, this whole kind of thing, because it was still communist country.
Sure.
So
that's interesting. Wow.
Oh yeah, it was quite an experience. And so 2 guys that were my students in 1985, I'm still in contact with today. Andrzej Klima is one, and Marcin Yar. And you've probably seen him on some of those things we share.
Absolutely,
on Facebook, yeah. And he's a great drummer now. He was a really good kid then, but he's doing everything. He works with Potashin, who is the Charlie Parker of Poland, and he's been doing that for years.
Oh, yeah.
And the other guy was Jacek Peltz, who's a really great drummer that worked with, I'm forgetting, I can see his face, but he's no longer with us, a guitar player.
Okay.
And anyway, that I did that for 15 years, from 85 to 90, every year, at least once. And in fact, I ended up the last 6 years, Berkeley, began with Berkeley's on the road thing, but then they were upset because they didn't get any return from the trips from students from Poland. They
Okay.
couldn't afford to come. We would go and give scholarships, and they'd say, "Oh, well, thank you. I already have one on my living room wall," because there would be no way they could take that
I
and
see.
turn it into an experience. So I ended
Yeah.
up doing that kind of thing on my own.
Interesting.
Berkeley
Yeah. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
kind of like turned it over to me, and so I would take other musicians with me, and we would go into the Polish Jazz Society had a really strong network and still might. It's been a couple of years now since I've been there, but they had clubs that they sponsored in all the cities. You could go and make a complete circuit of Warsaw, Puławy,
Gee. We should go
Bydgoszcz,
there
all.
together, man. Because maybe next year, because I have friends in Poland who, in the Parkinson's arena, neurologists, people with Parkinson's, translators to help me.
Yeah, well, you can't
Trying to
get
get my
much
book
done.
translated to Polish right now. Just having a little trouble making it affordable at the moment. It's not cheap. So we'll get it worked out at some point. I hope to go there one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was much easier to do it for me as an educator because you would get support from all of the companies you endorsed.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
worked. That worked as an educator, but it did not work as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't get support money if you were just an artist. You only got product.
Okay.
But if you were an educator, you got both.
Oh, yeah. I need to look into some possibilities. There's grant money available. Um, I'm drinking this kick it in the ginger shot.
Mm.
I just thought I'd try it, and it's
Okay.
really good.
If you disappear, then we'll understand what happened.
Kicking in the ginger. And my little puppy here, Brandy's she's 13, but she's like a 2-year-old. And she wants to come in and knock things over. Hey, Brandy, come on in. Brandy, come here. Oh, you're going to lay out there in the sun.
Wow.
It's funny. The cat I used to have, who passed away a few years ago, she and this dog, they find the sunny spots on the carpet or the floor. That's
Yeah.
right where they go. Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense. So I received some files from you, which I've enjoyed thoroughly, although I have to admit I haven't gotten through everything yet,
Well, I mean, it takes time. You know, some of
because
them are long.
getting this other book each day I do a little more on the book. I can only do so much at a time, and then I just need to stop. Otherwise, the quality diminishes greatly. I'll have a while where I can write and produce something decent, and then I'm done for a day. So it's a long process. But in the just last night, oh, and Sunday night too, or Monday night, I started getting into some files and just looking at different things. Karina en Bolivia. Hola, mi amiga, ¿cómo está?
Mm.
Karina is a mujer incredible. I can't say incredible in Spanish. Incredible. Bienvenidos, Karina. Yeah, so I was I later on today I'm looking forward to talking with Karl Allen, who I figured it out last night. I first listened to him in 1985
Mm.
on a Freddie Hubbard recording that I have. I don't remember which one. I just know that it's that year.
I think
And
it
wow,
might be
man.
in that bio thing you sent out. It might be listed in there.
Yeah, it might be. And do you know Karl? Have you met
No,
him or?
no, I don't know him at all.
I
I
don't
mean, I
either.
know of his music too, like you, but I, I never ran into him.
Yeah. Yeah. Hola, hola, Karina. Bienvenidos. Um, so yeah, he's you know, I feel a little guilty because I always start, I want to make sure I've either done my research before I invite somebody, or if I invite them and I've done a little bit of research, that I do the research. And of course I knew a fair amount about him, but when I really started digging in, man, he's done a lot of work
Yeah,
producing, recording,
yeah.
and everything.
An
Um,
educator too, because he was at
yeah, and it just brought up something I wanted to ask you about. But first, I'll share something with you. So back in the early 1980s, 80, 81, I was taking lessons with Danny D'Imperio,
Hmm.
who was with, Chuck Mangione and Gap and Woody and Maynard. Saw him with Maynard. Um,
Right, the big band.
Saw him with his own band. Actually, in his own band, he was playing bass, and a local guy here was playing drums.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
great.
his father was playing piano. But
Wow.
when I was studying with Danny, it was a wonderful experience because he says, I guess it makes sense. Like Karl was saying on a lecture I was looking at a few days ago, he doesn't only think of the tune and the form and the head and whatever in his as he's playing. He actually sings it. Like I know a few players who actually they they make sound when they. I mean, Elvin had his thing, but that was more of a growl. Herbie Hancock has his growl. Jimmy Haslip, same thing. Then there's Keith Jarrett does his own different kind of thing. But Danny taught me to sing the head. So did Wilby Fletcher when I studied with him. It's like sing the head out loud while you're playing. Is that anything that you've ever done?
A couple weeks ago, I was talking about that experience that I did with Franco Rossi and Aaron Spears.
Mm-hmm.
Remember? And then we were going to do the concert at the end. I was the middle guy leading into Aaron Spears. And there wasn't any way I was going to play anything like him. So what I did in that presentation is something that I often do is I sang the melody to a blues and then I sold it on it about 8 choruses.
Okay.
And then I figured, oh yeah. And so everybody was nice. They clapped, that kind of thing. And I said, well, thank you very much. And they said, no, do another one. And I'm thinking maybe Aaron isn't ready yet. So I said, okay, we'll complicate it a little bit. I'll do a 16 bar tune. So I did Sweet Georgia Bright. The first one was Bessie's Blues.
Excuse me.
And then I played it, then I sang the melody, and then I played solos on it. But I also played the solos in different choruses in different styles.
Ah, nice. Like you mean a different genre, like maybe a Latin
Right.
versus
So
swing.
Sweet Georgia Bright, like it's a jazz up tempo,
That's
tune.
cool.
So then I did it as a samba, I did it as a bayon, I did it as a sango, I did it as a bembe. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. You can do it in 3/4, even though the tune's in 4/4.
Oh, sure. You
Yeah.
can spread out 3/4 easily, right? If you want to
Right. Well,
keep
but you still everything stays the same length. You're still
it
doing the
exactly. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
right.
There's
So
a
yes,
tune.
the answer to that question is yes.
Interesting. Yeah. So what I found is, and actually, as I think about it in the business that I'm in now, working with people with Parkinson's and whatever, is that's a really good multitasking skill to develop. It's good for the brain because when you have to, I always wondered. I mean, obviously people can do it, but how do they sing and play drums, sing and play guitar, sing and do this at the same time? Well, because they practice. I never did do that. I only sang in one band at a rehearsal for about 20 minutes, and they said, "No, that just no, don't sing."
Right. Yeah, I did that too. We had
Like,
a gig and they said, well, we need some other tunes. You want to do one? And I went, okay. So I did a 10-wheel drive. I don't know if you ever heard of that big band, a fusion band,
no.
around the turn of the 70s. Early big band like Chicago, but they were from New York. And, and so I learned this tune and I could play. I never thought about that you couldn't play, and sing at the same time. But the comment was that, no, that's okay.
Yeah, well, first of all, I didn't want to sing. I've never wanted to sing. And so of course it was agony for me in college because I guess I have I don't even know if this is an accurate term. I have what is called relative pitch. It's
Yeah,
not perfect.
yeah.
But
Well, you don't need perfect pitch would drive you nuts.
yeah, it seems like it could. But anyways, my sense of when I would read in the solfeggio books and all that stuff, Dr. Abrams was a nice guy, but I was the one in the class, the one for 4 semesters of that. who, if other people couldn't get it right, he'd say, Karl, come on, just show them how it's done. Like, oh man, I've got it. He gave me the starting note, and then I just go through it, and I could always sight read it and do it. I didn't like doing that, but it was nice to have the ability. But that was only doing that, not playing anything or tapping anything out or playing an instrument. So when Danny, and this is right around the same time, when Danny had me playing the tune and singing the head, it became a multitasking skill. And then Wilby did it too. I didn't like the sound of my voice, but I don't care anymore. I don't even care. It's just none of that matters to me. I'm not timid about singing, although it's not that I'm going to start singing right now. But I understand the importance and the relevance of how beneficial that can be, especially when it comes to maybe just being more musical. And then of course Danny and Wilby and Peter Erskine too, because I took a lot of lessons with him. We're also talking about the importance of being able to play the head on the kit, even just like a 4-piece kit, snare, tom, bass, and maybe a couple cymbals, and have it be a recognizable head. Wilby had me do Satin Doll, play, sing it. Didn't know the words, but I did the melody. Right. Then take a couple choruses on drums, and then make it recognizable. And I learned so much from that. I see Karl Allen was talking about that, well, frequently. Pretty cool. It makes sense. It's just that I like how people express their thought process behind approaching that type of thing,
Well, there's different levels that you can use it as also.
Sure.
So if I use it as a way to keep your place for students at the beginning. So if I would have them learn like a blues, and I always use Bessie's Blues, that one that I use for a demo, because it has enough notes and enough spaces that you can go further steps into this process. But have them play hi-hat on 2 and 4, bass drum lightly on all 4, and play the melody and try to get the duration of the notes correct and think like a saxophone. Not play just in the center of the snare and all the notes. No. Ba do ga do biz do ga tick 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 digu ba dig do ga, to try to get it be more musical.
Right. Yeah.
And so you get that down, and yes, you can go ahead and do it, orchestrate it on the drum set as a melody.
Excuse me.
You can play it with the ride, and then between the snare drum and the bass, articulate the melody like a syncopation kind of idea.
Yes.
You can incorporate the toms. But the next step is wherever there isn't a melody note, then you embellish that space, putting something in. So you'd have gee doo da, jagadoo gee doo da. You can put something in those spaces.
Yeah, I love that tune too. Bessie's Blues is great.
And there are many versions of that over the years.
Yep.
Some of them with backbeat, so that guys can access where they're coming from a little bit more, because they can tell where they are in the measure. And then the next step is what's happening with the comping instrument, what's happening with the bass, any double stops or accents. And then the last step is to paraphrase the melody. So where you'd have dee doo da, you can play dee. You can play anything that fills up that space.
Yeah.
But when you
just
do
kind
the
of
solo,
accentuate what's to come ahead and build it up and release.
Right. But then you can take the space that was the embellishments and incorporate that into your paraphrasing as well. So you can keep compounding and extending it. But when you go to do a solo and you're demonstrating this for somebody, you don't start with putting all those elements in together.
Exactly.
So you keep extending your ideas just like anybody else on their instrument does. They'll do it harmonically, but you have to do it with your limited sound sources and dynamics and phrasing.
Right. You don't want to spill out your entire vocabulary in one chorus. Right.
Well, it ends up being like a drum thing, and that's okay. But if you're trying to play music, then it's like the drums are just your pencil if you're trying to write a story.
Exactly. Skip, we have some people watching. So Karina, again, bienvenido. Bill Platt. Do you know Bill Platt?
Yes, I do. He was here before.
I thought so.
Also,
Bill,
yeah.
welcome. How you doing? Dana Creighton. Dana, hola. D. Oakley, who's a friend of mine in England. D,
Oh,
I
wow.
hope you're doing well. How's everything? Oh, and Teresa DeMusio. Yes,
Right.
Therese.
Yeah, I
As
think
she
she
says, as a
spends lunch
singing
with us.
drummer, your cymbals and your drum volume are always monitored. You have to be a sound engineer on every gig. Yeah, that makes sense. Feedback of equipment is a struggle on live gigs. Hey, Therese, nice to see you. ¿Cómo está? Great.
Is everyone enjoying their lunch? No, they're too far apart in different parts of the world. So in England, it would be dinner.
Correct. I believe they're either 4 or 5 hours ahead. I don't know if they changed their clocks the same time we do or at all. They were 5 hours ahead until we changed our clocks. Then they became 4 hours ahead. D, what time is it in the UK right now? If you're still with us. Nice to see you too, Therese. So my dog's making noise because that's what she does. This is Brandy. Hi, Brandy. You're making an appearance on Global. Hey, what's up there, puppy? Mi perro is no contenta. So yeah, well, we'll get outside in a while, okay? We'll find a sunny spot and lay down. Yeah, I'm still fascinated by this thing. We've talked about it before, so I won't go on too much about it, but it's so interesting how just the ride cymbal. Sorry about the noise. If you
can't really hear it, just a little bit. But before we move to the sound of the drum things, let me mention, that thing about being able to sing and play.
Yes.
Glenn Velez put a thing together in the 80s. He's a great hand drummer. He's the only hand drummer that was ever at a Modern Drummer Festival.
Oh.
And he and I studied the Raghavan back in I think maybe he was even before me, late 70s, before 1980. And he devised this thing where he works with groups of people and you play frame drums and you play these cycles of rhythms, keeping the tala from India, for example, Carnatic stuff, and you sing a melody and you dance in another time signature.
Oh.
So you're dancing in 3, you're singing in 4, and you're playing in 5.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like what we're talking about, but taking it, and he would have these ensembles classes. I think you can still do them online, but his name is Glenn Velez, Velez.
I'll have to check that out.
Oh, he's amazing.
That's really neat. Actually, there's something I was going to say before. I just remembered one of my favorite shifts into another gear time-wise is the live in Paris or Paris concert, Bill Evans with Joe LaBarbera. And on My Romance, the way he shifts from the 3 feel to the 4 feel is so beautiful, so seamless. Because, they're doing this 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Then he starts over the top of. Then it's into this, right? Then it goes back into this again, and it's just beautiful. If you haven't heard that, look it up, find it on YouTube. It's a beautiful. They go back and forth in between 3 and 4, and God, Joe is such a great player, man. He's somebody I'd like to talk with. I haven't reached out at all.
I'm sure he
really
talked
busy.
with him. Yeah, we've been friends since '71.
Really?
Yeah.
I saw it my first time. Well, actually, the only time I saw him was early 70s with Woody Herman.
He was with Chuck Mangione when I saw him.
Yeah, because the Barbara family is from Rochester.
Right.
Pat.
Right.
It's Pat,
that was
Joe,
maybe
and who's the other one? There's another brother who does a lot of composing and arranging. Tony.
John?
I think it's John? Tony, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe John. Yeah, Pat. There's an album I have called Pass It On. it's on vinyl downstairs, and it's the La Barbara Brothers. And it's no keyboards. I'm pretty sure it's no keyboards. So maybe the third brother's not on it, but it's Pat. It's like Elvin and Train, very very much like that.
Wow.
Bass, drum, sax trio, beautiful recording.
That
I got to
for,
get that out and spin it because I don't have it on. I just have it on vinyl.
For that example of that supposition of the 3/4, Bill Evans does that in his phrasing all the time. And so in the Jazz Profiles book, there's a transcription of Larry Bunker from Trio 65 with Bill Evans, where it's doing that same kind of thing all the time, including in the solos. They trade choruses on a tune called Israel. And so those solos are written out, and Fabio Pirazzolo did the transcriptions for me for the book. He's great at that. And you can see, you can hear, and that's all the way back from 65. And I'm sure that Bill was doing that even in the late 50s with Paul Motian, with Scott LaFaro.
Yeah. It's funny. My dad knew Scott. I think that for a time Scott might have lived near Ithaca, New York. In fact, I think he might have died in that car accident there.
Wow.
So didn't he die when he was in his 20s, early 20s?
Yes.
I think my dad actually worked with Scott. I've got to ask Mom about that. I don't. Just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was just. I forgot about that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm distracted with something. I actually told somebody I'd see them at 11:30, and it was a typo. I meant 12:30. Okay.
Well, do you have to jump to do that? I mean, you.
Oh no, they're gonna come over here, and then we'll just ride together to the patient.
Okay.
I'm a little all over the place, but I know exactly where I'm headed with things. Just reminds me though that the past month or so, I started working with a lady. No diagnosis of anything, but she's 90 years old, and she is amazing and inspires us greatly. I'm just so inspired by this lady. Cognitively sharp as a tack, moving well, just wants to stay moving well. So my friend Emily, who's been helping me out recently with patients as I train her how we do this, so that like when I go away, she can work with these people or just be with me. Because what I love about working with somebody, especially if they're creative, is it's like jazz. It's like music. You can be creative together. She came up with ideas yesterday for people that I would never have thought of because I'm not her. So it adds a new dimension that the patient and client can benefit from, and I learn from, and we all learn. So win-win-win. So yeah, she's gonna. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I screwed up. Wow, but I'm doing better. Other than the occasional memory issue, but
yeah,
got my vaccine. Everything's all set. I can go to Mexico. I can travel. I won't do it a lot, but I just get out of here for a little bit.
Yeah, some of our friends from the neighborhood are in Mexico, and they said it was pretty much closed down.
Yeah, so it's interesting. In Mexico, what's going on right now, and same thing in, I believe, Costa Rica and some other countries is, well, I'll just speak to what I know for sure, is in Mexico, they have teams of medical people that go around in vehicles equipped with, they have nurses and NPs and doctors, but they'll go around with the supplies to administer the vaccine, whichever one it is. And in the small towns, a couple thousand people, 4, 5, 6,000 people, they'll take care of a whole town in a day or two and then just move to the next town and vaccine these small places. Whereas in the bigger cities, especially like Monterrey, San Luis Potosi is not that big, but it's not that small either. Mexico City was huge. Monterrey, not a lot of vaccine yet. Most people have not been vaccinated, and I know they are working on it, but if you live in a small city in Mexico or a small town, you're probably going to get vaccinated a lot sooner. So the town that I'm going to has been already had the first round and done, and most of the people took advantage. It's a small place, not big, called Oaxaca, southwest of Mexico City. New Parkinson's Association opening up, and the grand opening is on the 19th. But I'll be teaching the 18th, 20th, 21st. Come back the 22nd. 19th is just kind of a 4 hours or so of different speakers. I'll be one of them. But I have a translator who's coming with me or meeting me there, who lives with Parkinson's, Laura. She's amazing. So I'm looking forward to it. And the other thing I enjoy about this too is when I travel, especially to Mexico, the music, and Argentina, that was cool.
Yeah.
Belize, the music is that we move to, because music is so beneficial for helping with movement most of the time. We're using the music, a mariachi band or whatever. We're playing the music of Mexico, traditional, beautiful music, and I love to hear that. I love to learn about it. Add it to my my database of music that I listen to, and
Right.
learn
Well,
some of the steps that go with it.
right.
That's
Well, it
not always the
reinforces
easiest thing.
it reinforces where they're coming from as well. So, because it's music that's of their culture, not you bringing, George Duke down to Oaxaca.
Exactly.
They'd be like, what is this? Oh, it's easy. It's right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left. Just play this along with it.
Yeah. That's fun too. I was watching some things lately with Steve Gadd, actually. I don't know what I saw, maybe an old Paul Simon thing and whatever, but Steve does a lot of that.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of people do, though, right? I mean, it makes sense.
It's everyone is doing it. It's from antiquity.
Yep. I love that. It's really cool. Right, left, right, left, right, left.
Right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left.
Yep. That's great. So if anybody, by the way, if anyone watching, we don't have anyone on Zoom with us, just Facebook. If you have any questions that you want to ask Skip or me, but don't ask me questions. Ask Skip. He's the man. If you want
don't
to talk
ask
to me,
me.
just
I'm
ask
here
me
all
about
the time.
Parkinson's. You want to talk about music? Ask Skip.
Well, more so about drums than about music. But
how's the semester going there now? When are you done with this semester in the spring?
I finish up May 6th.
Okay.
And it starts again on the 26th. It runs through the 13th of August and starts again the first week of September. So they go in 15 weeks in the fall and spring and 12 weeks in the summer.
Oh, okay. And
there's also a 5-week program for younger kids. And they'll have another 15-week thing, I think. They did it last summer that had a lot of young people in it. The Berkeley online classes rolled out for younger students. Mm-hmm. So last summer was really busy. I don't know what happened for this summer.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to get to Boston. I just need to get through Mexico first, get through that trip, and then probably be going back there a time or two this year for different things that I've been invited to. Oh, been invited. Now that might be a new word. I just might have come up with something. I've been invited there a couple times, Guadalupe and Baja California. Let's see. And I invite myself to Boston to hang out with you and some others. And Sergio,
just when you get used to the warmer temperatures, you'll come here, and then you'll be going home.
Yeah. And Therese and who else? Johnny D, Sergio, Terry. It'll be really good to go anywhere.
Well, we'll see. Maybe your travel desires will be sated by your trips to Mexico.
Yeah, as long as I don't get any blood clots on the trip, I'll probably be ready for a drive maybe I'll take the train to Boston though, because I don't really like to drive because there are other things I could do with the travel time, like sleep.
Well, if you take the train, you'll have plenty of time.
Yeah, change in Albany, I guess, and then head to Boston. I could rent a car there. That might be a better way to go about it. I like trains. There's more leg room, and there's usually power and
Right.
Wi-Fi. And if Wi-Fi doesn't work, it doesn't matter because you're not 30,000 feet, so you can still get a cellular service. And
Then you can get up and move around.
yes, it's nice.
In
Yeah,
Europe, it's much easier to take the trains.
yeah.
So when I go to Germany and do stuff, it's taking the trains from Munich to Bremen to Hanover. You know, I did it all by trains. I did it alone.
That's interesting. The only train I've been on over there is in England from London to. I never remember the name of the place. All I know is I changed trains in Norfolk. No, Norwich. Norwich. They call it Norwich. It's spelled like Norwich.
Right.
That was the halfway point to where I was going to see my friend Ian Frizzell. And Dia, if you're still with us, you know who Ian is because you met him over in Rochester, England at that workshop. Um, you were both there. He lives with Parkinson's, had DBS, bilateral implants in his head for the electrodes.
Wow.
And so I went and spent a day and night up at his house. It was a nice trip on the train going north of London. That was nice. It was an older train, so it wasn't fast, but it was beautiful scenery.
Mhm.
Lots of sheep.
I just watched the special on, not a special, I guess it was, they were selling homes in, those shows where they go and show homes to people to buy. And it was in Cumbria, which is just up to the border to Scotland.
Oh,
It's the largest national park in the UK. Yeah. And some of it looked like Alaska. I mean, it had snow capped mountains. I mean, really a
interesting.
little late to the game about Cumbria. So, yeah. That's one of the trips that maybe we'll take, my wife and I, later on. Is she's Native American, Afro American, and Scottish, and so at some point she wants to see the British Isles, the kind of thing, and Scotland.
Oh,
So
yeah, that'd be great. I haven't seen those. I'd like to go there. Now, have you spent time in Scandinavia? Like, um,
no, no,
no.
just closest I got was lots to Poland and some to Germany, but mostly Italy, Spain,
Excuse me.
Switzerland,
Okay.
Ecuador, Australia, New Zealand, that kind of stuff. So lots of places, but lots of places I didn't, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the gentleman that I'm meeting with, Emily and I see today at 2 p.m. Uh, we'll work with him. He's traveled a lot to Europe, but he spent a lot of time in Netherlands, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and the Antarctic.
Ooh,
And Antarctic? No, Arctic. That's on the top, North
yeah.
Pole, Arctic Circle.
Well, yeah.
He went there for 2 weeks.
Mm.
And it was for work. And I don't remember. I'll have to ask him what kind of work you do in the Arctic Circle. But there were, I think, 6 people. And then when he and his wife got there were 8 people.
Wow. I wonder if it was in the summer or the winter. Must have been in the summer. I wouldn't be able to get in and out in the winter.
Um, you know, I do remember him telling me something about if he opened a window, he would have frozen to death in the
Yeah,
place he stayed.
yeah.
It was so cold.
It
I'll
would be
ask him
like
today.
40 below.
Yeah. So this thing, and we've talked about it before, so I don't want to duplicate too much, but I feel it's worthy. This thing about the ride symbol and
Mm.
identifying a player
Mm-hmm.
just by hearing the ride symbol. I'm more than ever just fascinated by this. There's certain people, Elvin, Tony, Roy, Jack. Last names are not necessary, right, for those guys. Uh, and there's so many others. You hear their ride symbol, and if that's the only thing they're playing, oh yeah, that's Jack. And then they add in a comp on the snare, or they do a little. like Jack just somehow seems to sweep over the drums and makes it to where he's going, which biomechanically I always wondered how the heck he does that, but it's so beautiful. That identity is one of the most fascinating things to me. I guess it's as much as you play somebody playing one note like Train, uh, Miles, and you just know who they are. That's a real special thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was their personalities were also so strong that they cut through any of that. There was a sound, there was a touch, there was a feeling, and they were able to communicate that in many different mediums, not just live, but through
Yeah.
recordings, through video, or movies, or whatever the level of reproduction was at the time. But there were some guys that could not do that.
True. That would be me.
No, I mean, it just didn't make that jump
Yeah.
to being for other people to get.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to name names because I don't want anyone who could hear this to be offended. But there are a lot of players I absolutely love, but I'd have to hear them many times for a while before I can recognize who it is. And sometimes I'm not sure. Still, I'm not sure who it is, but I love what I hear. Um, I guess I don't even know how to describe it other than that ability to cut through and that personality coming through is really special.
Yeah, I
And the
mean, that's
fact that
why
we can
people
identify
are,
these. I'm sorry. What's that?
I mean, that's why there are like even uh, online, there are people that are influencers, and you, depending on if you're into what they're into or not, it's like, how could this person be important to other people?
Right.
Because they're hearing or seeing something that they can identify with for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason. So people are able to communicate that. And
Yeah.
I'm at a loss as to explain academically about how that's done. But I mean, it'd be like there's some people you go, yeah, you just pick up a vibe from them, whether it's like we're doing over the thing. You and I started one of these, 8 of these shows ago, and we had never met before this. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
that same
true.
kind of thing. It's like we can use us and our experiences as an example of that. It just made sense to do that.
Yeah. I probably said this before too, but it's another thing that bears repeating. Some of the best lessons I've ever had were verbal and not from drummers. Um, I would say the most significant one, let's say in the past, well, it's probably 10, 12 years ago, but before I stopped playing, uh, that probably won't last forever. I'll do something in the future, but this had a big impact on me. I was with a tenor player, saxophonist, Dave Castiglione. Dave, if you see this, I love you, brother. We got to get together. You only live 15 miles from me, and I'm guilty as charged with not getting out and seeing you. But Dave's great, man. And sound, feel, vocabulary, facility, everything. Feeling, though, it's amazing. Sound, amazing. If you know Dave personally, you know it's him playing because he plays the way he is, which I guess we all do, but especially Dave. But he was also talking about we were jamming, right? We were at his house. I brought my little Slingerland kit and tenor sax and drums for about an hour. And we took an espresso break, or many espressos for another hour, sat on the front porch talking. He says, okay, in his nice way. So now your vocabulary is good. You have a lot of facility and vocabulary. Now, try putting some intention behind what you play.
Hmm. Yeah.
Never even thought about that before. Seriously, the word
Mm-hmm.
intention, like what are you intending to communicate? And so we went back in and played, and after about 10 minutes of complete confusion, I actually hit on something, and I have a recording of it. And it's actually kind of cool. I did it all by myself, but with his help, of course. And that was a great lesson. what message do I want to send?
Mm-hmm.
That includes feeling. A good friend of mine, my dentist, Scott Gross. What's up, brother? Long time no see. I got to make an appointment too. I need a teeth cleaning.
Say,
Also, a really good drummer. He doesn't
good.
give himself credit. Scott's real good. Great guy.
Welcome aboard. Well, I don't know. And then many times we've gotten together, I told you about that class. I think it was called Mental Concepts of Control, which was 15 weeks in answering 2 questions. Why are you playing, and what are you trying to communicate with what you play? And it wasn't just open to drummers. It was trombone players, guitar players, anybody. It was an elective. Anybody that wanted to be in the class could take it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole thing would just revolve around any level of answer you wanted to apply to those questions. What do you mean, like, why am I playing it? So I can meet chicks. Okay, great. So let's work with that for a while. Or it could be, I know I'm trying to, communicate something a little bit behind the curtain about what it seems and what it looks like, and what are you trying to communicate? How well are you able to get that across? Some people we just talked about are able to do that. They're great communicators without doing 15 weeks thinking about it. They're just already doing it as who they are.
Mark Mahoney's with us. Hi, Mark.
Hey.
I heard what you said, but I just saw his name pop up. Silvia Gabriela, mi amiga en Monterrey, Mexico. Bienvenida.
Hey, Mark.
Bienvenido. John Andre Jack. I don't know John, but welcome, John. So, yeah, that's really interesting, Skip. Also, I just want to show people this book. Okay. Because if you don't, I will. This is really, really good. One of the things that's just so cool about this, I know the original title was The Beat, the Body, and the Brain.
Yeah. And that's what attracted you, actually.
Yeah. Well, yes, but the way you go through, there's one page, the beat, one page, the body, and I think one page, the brain. So what you convey in these 3 pages, in a way, is similar to what it took me 568 pages to say.
Jeez.
Bravo for being concise and succinct.
Yes.
But I really love that, first of all, you did it when you did it back in the 80s, right? And Louis Bellson signed off on it. It was your master's project.
Right, yeah. You got a great memory.
And it became a book, and now it's something I relate to very, very well. Yeah, Brandy really wants to go outside, doesn't she?
Yeah, show her the book again. She likes that. No, I'm just kidding.
Here it is,
let me chew on that for a while, she's saying.
Real good. If you don't have it, where can people get this? Alfred?
Yeah, Amazon.
Go to Amazon and get it. It's well worth. The other thing I like too, besides the written out things and all the different grooves and things that are in here, is it's a resource. I mean, just take this for example. You'll get listening examples for each piece that's written, so it tells.
Yeah, when you were saying earlier that you didn't get a chance to play this stuff very much, it would be try to balance it. So even if you did 15 minutes of playing, if you did 15 minutes of listening to the music, it would make much more sense.
Yeah, and then there's the CD. Oh, I don't have it in there because it's in my computer. CD that comes with it too. Which is really nice.
That I was really lucky with that because I got all my friends and some people that became my friends to do that. So it's like Giovanni Hidalgo, Alain Millet.
Oh, great.
Victor Mendoza.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Hector Quintanilla, and from Peru. He was a student, but he was a really good player. So he played percussion. And Alberto Neto was a student at that time also. And now we share an office. He's been at Berkeley for a couple of decades now.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. So Mark says, hi, guys. He also says, I still play through copies of both books, his copies that he has, although his copy is a little more beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
that's
talking
true.
about the Beat the Body, the Brain too, which is all of the extensions of the odd time signatures into that material.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. Wow, that's cool. I'll have to look for that one. I It's good to get back and talk with you, man. It's been a while. I'm finally settling down into a regular schedule now. I got just bombarded when I went back. Everybody wanted to went back to working full time after the COVID stuff.
Right.
My COVID just became very busy, and a couple of new people. It's hard to fit in the schedule, but now it's good to be back and doing this.
Well, it's great that you can do the stuff that you can do and help people. I mean, that's great.
I really enjoy it a lot. It's been very nice for them. It's been nice for me to see people. We work on a lot of memory and cognition as well, not just movement. Um, Not sure in 2 weeks how it'll be, but I believe it's 2 hours ahead. And there's a really good chance I'll be able to do this in 2 weeks from Mexico.
Oh,
Just
wow.
won't have a
Okay.
fancy setup or a fancy microphone, but it'd be cool because we don't start till later in the day. I don't know. I'll let you know though.
Yeah, it's okay. You got to.
Um, so what else is happening? I completely screwed up my time today. So Emily left where she thought she was going to meet me, and she's not with my house, so we don't have to go yet. She's
Okay.
hanging out, and now Brandy can go down and see her, my dog, because they get along great. So in maybe 10 minutes or so, I should probably leave because I need to go see our 90-year-old lady who is amazing, and we're going to help her out today.
Wow.
Um, what are you listening to lately? Anything new? I know you're busy with a lot of things. You have a
Well,
scanning project you're doing for
well,
things,
yeah,
but
I'm going through all these years of magazines and everything, all these different things I get. And then I scan them, make PDFs, and then they go into whatever I can use for students are working on. But there was a great article I got from Percussive Notes magazine today, the one I was trying to put it in the chat for you, the evolution of popular Cuban percussion, and it's from danzón to timba. And there's musical, text written out. There's a lot. It's Michael Spiro and Rick Mitaksky, I think, guy from
okay.
Illinois. But it's really well laid out. So I'm going to check into that and get the music from Los Van Van, all kinds of dancehall. It goes through the history of it. But it's from an old magazine from like 15 years ago. And I happened to find it and went, oh, okay. And the other stuff was if you haven't so far, check out the music from Full Mantis. That one that I
Okay.
sent you, that's a movie from 2018.
Interesting. So what magazine is that?
Percussive Notes, it's from the
Like the Art Society?
Percussive Arts Society. Yeah, it's a magazine that comes out once a month. Dave Stanek
ENJA.
is the editor of that now.
Who is?
Dave Stanek.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure you know him.
I know him. I can't think of him right
Minneapolis.
now. Yeah.
He and Gordy
Um,
Knudsen taught at the same place.
I started subscribing to Jazz Is online just because I met the founder of it last year. Um, and we spoke. He's also a neurologist.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. The story behind the startup of Jazz is interesting. He borrowed money from one of his professors and they went in 50-50, and then he bought his professor out back in the 80s, and it's still going. And oh man, I can't believe I can't think of his. I'm so sorry, I can't think of his name right now. Names are still rough at the moment. You're Skip. I know you.
Yeah, I've been that for at least an hour now.
Uh, and then I've been looking through some old modern drummers that I have. I haven't subscribed to the magazine in a long time. I kind of feel a little guilty, but I just haven't. But I've gone through some old stuff with Roy Haynes. Actually, one of my transcriptions is in that issue from the
Right.
early
I sent you I sent you the link. I used it a week before
Oh
last.
yeah, thanks for doing that, man. That's when you first told me that you used any of my transcriptions, I actually didn't believe you. But
Okay.
thank you for that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you can't outrun your past. There are no secrets anymore, you see.
See, yeah, yeah, and it's cool. I looked, couldn't find my issues. My July '83 issue with Gad came out, and so my thing from one of the three quartet songs was on there that he did with Chick. That was a long one. That was like 4 pages, and it took forever to transcribe because there's a turntable. I borrowed my father's old turntable and put it on 16 and a half or something. Of course, the pitch goes down, so the snare drum sounds like mud. So did everything else. But
Yeah, but the idea was to try to find out where they were in the time, and you could identify later on when you sped it up what the sound was.
exactly, and that's how I took. It took a while. I don't know how long it took me working through that. Quite a lot. I did it in late 81 and into early 2, right after the album came out, and then I sent it to Modern Drummer and they put it in about a year later, which I was complete shock when I walked into the music store, picked up the copy, and there it was. And then they sent me 5 copies that arrived in the mail soon after I saw it in there, which is cool. uh but it's a great way to learn. The transcribing is so valuable to well, I for me it is anyways, because when I look at something on a page, as long as it's written accurately, mostly, I start to see relationships and phrasing, and I see a lot of things that help me to hear it better. And then I can use some of those ideas in my own playing. And that's why I transcribed a whole lot more too. I transcribed a bunch of Steve Jordan stuff. Um, I tried Alvin, but I just couldn't do it. Uh, you can't, well, I can't transcribe elasticity very well. You
Well,
know,
you have to let the listener try and figure that out.
yeah,
You just have to get them up to the door. You just put the steps in place to get them up to the doorbell.
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't realize that back then. Did a couple of Vinny things off of Gino album, the Nightwalker album,
Yeah.
just to see the phrasings and relationships.
But that's not the learning style for everybody. I mean,
No.
case in point for me was I was terrible at transcribing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I got Fabio to do all the stuff for all my books.
Ah,
Because oh, you mean this? Boom, and it's done and it's in finale or whatever you need, you know. But, and, and I've talked to different drummers, Bill Stewart. Oh yeah, I did a couple of transcriptions. So, I mean, it depends. You can listen for some people and they can get it. Some people need to see and hear it. And some people need either, they just need to play. So it's that audio visual kinesthetic experience that puts the learning thing happening. So
yeah.
that's one of the things I run into with students, or now I run into it with people online, is because the kinesthetic thing isn't so much happening as listening and watching what it is on the screen.
Well, it's interesting because um, just multiple thoughts going on. Not everyone learns the same way. You're right. An example in my field is when I give words to remember. I always try to give groups of words. Could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Depends upon the person and how we build up and how they're doing. But there are people who are very cognitively sharp, but they can't remember what you said 15 seconds ago when you give them
Right,
words.
right, because of the
However,
short-term
if you take through the
experience.
iPad and show them a picture of the word like tomato, cucumber, car, plane, whatever, visually, if they see it visually, for certain people, and I'm one of those people, they'll do a lot better.
Yeah, well, it'll
So,
concretize that. Graphic will go to what the word is and put the two together.
yeah, so sometimes a combination of hearing and seeing. For me, that's the ultimate. If I can hear it and see it, I'll remember it better. Which is the reason I have 100 something audiobooks on my phone.
Ooh,
And when I really like a book or I want to study it, I buy the hard copy, and then I have both, and I listen to the book while I read because I can
wow,
speed it up to my reading pace. But my
wow.
reading comprehension is horrible.
Hmm.
So, what were we talking about? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Well, Skip, unfortunately, I need to go in a minute and get
All
down,
right.
and
Yeah.
Emily and I are going to go see our friend Teresa. And
All right.
oh, Mark says, what is the best approach to transcribing advanced drum parts with today's newer technologies? Beyond the turntable cassette. I don't know. Skip, do you know
Yeah.
of any
Any
standard
tune.
approach?
Any
Any
tune.
tune. Oh yeah, Any Tune. I forgot. Any Tune, Mark, is a fantastic app. I believe it's free, and
No,
you
it's
just
not free.
oh, it's not.
It depends on if the students get it for free because they buy the computer with the package and it's on there. But I found out it's like, I think $39 or something when you want to get it, and it didn't get it for free.
Is that a one-time
Yeah.
one-time investment?
Yeah.
Well, I had Any Tune, and then I forgot about it. And on Mondays at 10, I do a Neuro Bro show thing with one of my instructors who also lives with Parkinson's, and he's a master trainer and all this stuff. So we've traveled around and taught a lot. So while we're not traveling, we're still sharing education. He just told me a couple weeks ago, he mentioned Any Tune because he'll use that to slow down the tempo or speed
Right.
it up
Yeah. We
because
talked
he does a
about
lot
that.
of dancing and ballroom dancing, and being able to slow it down is beautiful because it's digital, so the pitch doesn't change, right? It's not like a turntable where you slow it down and then the pitch drops. So, Mark, yeah, Any Tune is a fantastic app. I'm glad you said that, Skip. Yeah,
But we
it
talked
was
about that same thing for being able to use it for people that needed to know the songs because it was part of their culture, and you could slow it down to match their physical movement.
yeah, yeah. Back in the '80s, I tried to transcribe a Michael Brecker solo. After 8 bars, I was done.
Well, maybe you got
That's
what you
just
needed from that. Yeah.
well, I did learn a lot. I learned that I need to learn more before I can transcribe anything, more about theory. But and then I took the book. I bought a book of Brecker solos because I had an alto sax, so I was trying to transpose. But I really liked the sound of a tenor, and I sounded better on a tenor, but I didn't have one. Although I didn't sound that good. Um, I was not committed to learning that. I just didn't. I didn't get that far. But that was a random thought. Well,
You
it's
need
always
to
great to
go
see
and
you,
meet
man.
these people that are waiting for you.
Yeah, yeah, right. It's great to see you, man. I don't really want to have to go, but let's do it again next week. Are you around?
Yeah, yeah, this is good.
Folks, we're on for
Usually it
next
leads into
Wednesday.
leads into a meeting I'm having at school or a private lesson. So this is cool.
Awesome.
Sometimes
So April
that guy from
14th,
Italy.
next week, April 14th, 11 a.m. Oh, it's my son's birthday.
Uh-oh.
Great. But he won't be here, so he's working. His wife's gonna have a baby any day, probably in a week to 2 weeks. Yeah, Mark, it was really difficult because if before I got my dad's turntable, it was funny. I had only down to 33 on my, so I would take my finger and I would like put it on the center on the label part and hoping the record wouldn't spin on the actual platform it was on. So I didn't want to scratch it up. But I would hold it, trying to keep it a steady, but of course, vinyl's a little warped always. It's never perfectly even. So it was so difficult to do, but I learned a lot. So me too, Mark. I'm old school. Well, listen, thanks to Scott and Mark and Sylvia and Dee and Karina and Therese for watching, and others who I'm sorry I can't go back that far up on the list, but I appreciate you being here. Skip, my
Yeah.
friend, it's always a pleasure
Yeah,
to see
thanks
you.
everybody. It's always great to hang out with you and with everybody else that'll jump in.
Always great to talk, man. So we'll be back at it next Thursday, the 14th, same time, same bad
No,
time
Wednesday.
and bad channel.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, that's what I meant. Yeah, just testing you. That's right. The 14th, Wednesday. Okay. That ginger shot didn't work. Okay.
Oh, you're sure?
I don't know.
Take care of yourself.
You got it, man. See you later. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Godite la visionata.
See. Hasta luego.